We're going to start it right now. Hey, happy Friday, everybody. Good to see you guys here. Um, it's been a very interesting month, to say the least, guys. Bitcoin price action has done some crazy things, some things that um, even are surpassing my thoughts of what it could do in such a short time. But I don't know if you guys remember or not, but we talked about the possibility of reaching a new all-time high before the halvening. And as I answered in the channel on free parking, when Bitcoin price action goes crazy like this, that's when we see everybody just turning on machines. Like, even though they have terrible power costs, they know that they can make, little Bitcoin dust or whatever, and so everybody turns on the machines, and the difficulty goes through the roof. But you guys can expect, abnormally high difficulty all the way through March until April. And then in April, when the halvening comes, I think all these guys are going to actually, a vast majority of guys are going to be unplugging because they're going to be making very little to no money mining. So this is something similar to this happened in the last halvening. Just before the halvening, China basically turned on like millions and millions of machines and made the difficulty skyrocket. And so the month leading up into the halvening, the mining results were not as good as the months leading up to it, or the previous month. So it's just kind of normal behavior. It's greed at its finest, guys. When people see a chance to make a Bitcoin or a Satoshi, they'll do everything they can. There's also been cases, and this is really important to note, of stolen power. So a lot of these machines that are being turned on, they may be turned on when you get your power bill. You get it the month after, right? So you'll use all this power, and then you get your power bill the month after. Well, what these guys do is, a month leading up into the halvening, they'll just, whatever, 20 cents a kilowatt hour, whatever crazy rate they have, they'll use all this power. And then when they get the bill a month later, or even 2 months later, because sometimes they won't turn you off immediately, but what they do is they just skip out. So they'll get like a patsy or whatever to put the electric bill's name into, and they'll rack up, 30, 40, $50,000 electric bill over the next 2 months, and then they'll skip out. They'll just take all their coin and skip out. We'll probably hear stories. Don't be surprised if in the next 2 months you hear stories of, so-and-so is being sued because, they racked up $100,000 worth of electrical costs, and they're not being paid, or they're not going to pay it, or whatever. Okay, let's see. Crypto and Equity is saying you're having trouble hearing. Oh, you know what? I know why you guys are having trouble. Hold on just a second. Let me turn on the VPN, and that's why you guys. Just a second, guys. Let me fire up Nord here. Open up the Nord app. And things will work much better, at least streaming audio wise, when I've got the VPN going. So where did it go? I've got so many screens going here, it's hard to see what's what. I'll just do a quick connect here. And that should be fine. What I'm going to do is I'm going to bow out real quick, guys, and then reconnect, and hopefully it'll be connected with the VPN. You'll be able to hear me better. Just a second. Okay, the audio should be better now. Is the audio better? Can somebody confirm for me if it's okay? Sounded much better. Okay. Sorry about that, guys. There was a big Windows update that I had to apply, and I just got my computer rebooted, and I didn't have the VPN connected, and configured. But I'll just recap real quick. Happy Friday, everybody. Good to see you guys. It's a long time no see. Yes. Uh, yeah, I'm sure you guys were on pins and needles all month. But as I was explaining, it's really interesting. What happens before the halvening is basically everybody and their mom tries to make as much Bitcoin as they possibly can, as many Satoshis as they possibly can. Even with really, really old machines and bad power rates, you can still actually make a profit. And so everybody turns on their machines. Like I said, in the last bull run, or not the last bull run, but the last halvening, China turned on like 1 million machines, literally like 3 weeks before the halvening came. And it just destroyed the difficulty, and everybody was moaning and griping about it. But another thing that I was talking about is there are people that are kind of unscrupulous that will get a patsy to, they'll put the power bill in somebody's name. And as we know, we get the power bill, after we use the power. We don't have to prepay for it. We get it after we use the power. And so the last 2 months leading up to the halvening, what they'll do is they'll rack up this, $50,000, $100,000 power bill, and then they'll stiff the power company. They won't pay the power bill. So you may hear some stories about that coming up in, in the next, I'm going to say 3 to 4 months. Don't be surprised if you hear about that. But yeah, it should calm down after the halvening. So usually after the halvening, that's when everybody throws in the towel and they're like, okay, I'm done. I've mined all I can mine, and we see a huge drop in the difficulty, and profitability should go up considerably then. Another thing too is fees are relatively low. I pushed our transaction through. The average of the median fee was only 18 sats. I did 28 sats just because I didn't want you guys to miss out on anything. And then the next transaction was 52 sats, and then 22 sats, and then 15, and now 13 sats just went through. A block solved at 13 sats. So, the fees are very reasonable, like, much better than the 75 sats that we were paying. And when things were going really crazy with the ordinals, I mean, there were some blocks that were like 1,000 sats. That was the median for it. So things are much more within the realm of reality. And yeah, so it was just a kind of, not just one thing in particular, it was kind of a few things, all right? So the first thing that made the payouts lower this month was we didn't really have a full 31 day cycle. And, believe it or not, that 1 or 2 days, that makes a pretty big difference, especially when you're earning with the high fees, right? So if like the ordinals are going crazy and, you're making 20-25% more than you normally do, taking away a day or two of full earnings, that's a considerable amount. The other thing was we had a little downtime. We did some cleaning and just tidying up and getting everything ready. You want to do this work before the halvening. I was having a discussion with a colleague of mine, and they were like, well, why don't you just wait until after the halvening? And it's because after the halvening, that's when the difficulty is going to drop, and that's when you need your machines running 100% to really maximize that drop in difficulty. But, there was the machine cleaning, the huge all-time high in difficulty that we have now. Like I explained, there are people that just want to take advantage of the situation. They know that they can, get power from the power company for 2 months solid without paying a bill, and then they skip town. And, that's pretty much probably my guess of what's going on is you got a lot of guys that are just plugging in, whatever they have in a closet that works. And, they're going to collect their sats and get out. Let's see. I heard a lot of pools are starting to filter out ordinal transactions. Yes. And that is helping with keeping the fees reasonable. To be honest, there's a good and a bad to the fees. The good side is, the fees add to our rewards. And so we get a lot more mining rewards when the fees are astronomical. The bad side is, at least from our perspective, doing things like payouts or any kind of transactional things, it's terrible for us because we have to pay astronomical amounts of money. I think one time I wanted to do a payout for you guys. By the way, today is the most wallets we've ever paid out to in one single payout. and the total cost was $35 in Bitcoin at today's market price, which I think is very reasonable. But there was one time where I wanted to do a send, and it was going to cost over $3,700 to do your payouts. And I was like, no, we're going to wait. And I think that's when I kind of sat you guys down. I said, look, I know you're eager to get your payouts, but we're going to wait until, like I catch a blue moon in the fees here, and I can get these payouts done at a reasonable price, because that's just ridiculous to lose that much of your earnings just to get the transaction. And so, yeah, I mean, right now fees are very, very reasonable. And what's really weird is the whole system is, everything depends on another thing. So the longer it takes for a block solve to happen, the more the fees stack up on the block, because, there's people that psychologically think if they put more fees on the block, then the block's going to solve faster. And then we've got a situation now where we have more miners on the network. And so blocks are actually solving very, very fast. If you look, the last 4 blocks, let's see, 10 minutes plus 8 minutes plus 5 minutes plus 4 minutes. So the last 4 blocks themselves have solved within 30 minutes. And that shouldn't be possible. The way Bitcoin protocol works is it's supposed to be once every 10 minutes. And so that gives you an idea of how many more miners are now mining into the system, because the blocks are solving faster. And the faster the blocks solve, in general, the general rule is that makes lower fees, because there's not enough time for the block to kind of sit around and people to push in a bunch of fees into it. So yeah, it's all a delicate balance, right? So the longer the blocks take, the more we can make in fees. The shorter the blocks take, the less we have to pay in fees, but we don't get that extra fee income or that fee revenue. Let's see. Of course, guys. I'm always going to be looking out for your best interest. The whole point of this project is to maximize your amount of Bitcoin. And the real returns on maximizing things today aren't going to come, per se today. They're going to come down the road when Bitcoin reaches that all-time high. And that's when you decide to convert into stablecoin. And that's when you're going to see, the maximum yield of today's efforts. But every little sat counts, every little bit counts, and I'm not going to let you guys do anything stupid. I'll just keep it short and simple. I'm going to make sure to look out for you guys. Well, I'm looking out for you guys. Let's take a look at just what the phenomenal month that Bitcoin had in February. It looks like when we started out at we're going to say towards the end of January, we were kind of consolidating. I mean, we actually looked like we were going to go down. We were going to go down and do a deeper correction. And it just seems like the entire month of February it pumped. I'm anticipating, guys, a new all-time high will be made before the halvening. And as Sakib and I have described many times, traditionally, after the halvening, we get a correction, at least for 2 months. So I'm imagining things are going to go up, up, and up, higher and higher and higher, probably maybe to the, dare I say, 89, 90,000 region. And then we're going to get a nice deep correction, probably down to like 55, something like that. And then we're going to start pumping up again. And then from there on, it's going to go up and 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 up. New all-time highs over and over and over again. And if you guys can look at my screen here with this kind of ghost feed, it's going to be new all-time highs over and over and over again until we hit the crescendo, the peak. Which, let me pull up stock to flow. I haven't looked at stock to flow in a while. Let's take a look at where we are in the stock to flow of things. Let's see. Stock to flow, that's the cross asset model. Okay. This may not be, yes, this is the article that shows the change of state, and that's not what I'm looking for. Let's see. There we go. Look into Bitcoin stock to flow. Let's pull this up, guys. And look at the stock to flow chart. Yeah, this is a really good sign. But yeah, I'd like to draw your attention. If we go back in time, we can see previously we have these runs that go above the stock to flow, and then we have a correction. Yeah, absolutely. I'm thinking of doing the same thing, to be honest with you, crypto antiquity. Um, you know, it's something that you really have to be confident in. And I'm pretty confident that we're going to have a correction after the halvening, and I'm going to buy into that correction. I might not do a perfect sell at the top and a perfect buy at the bottom, but if you can make 5%, 8%, or even 10%, um, it's a worthwhile trade in my opinion. Yeah, but it does take kind of nerves of steel to do it. But I mean, if you look at the coloring of the stock to flow, I mean, we're right in that zone, just before the halvening, and we get that correction, and then after that halvening, that's when we see just beautiful bull runs happen. Um, which seems like it'll go, maybe into the end of 2025. Probably, I'm thinking January 2026 is when it's gonna poof out. Um, I've tried that. I've tried, crypto antiquity is saying, I'm thinking about it. I'll do it in segments. You can try to cost average, buy in and buy out, but I've always found that to be really frustrating because then my margins get really, really thin. So if I just do like an all-in sell and an all-in buyback, I tend to find my margins are about 3 times higher. I'm making about 3 times more than if I do like a cost average. I mean, you can do, structured cost average where you do like a fib and things like that, but that's never really worked well for me. I think, yeah, you got to be bold. You got to just say, I'm feeling it. Today's the day. This is the top. I'm all out. And then you got to wait till your gut says, I'm feeling it. It's going to turn around any second now, and you get back in. But hey, I'm not financial advice or anything like that. Whatever works for you guys, works for you guys. So, let's see, we've got some typing going on here. I'll go ahead and go back. See, true. That's a strategy you think about. I need to steel my nerves for that. After years and years of doing it, it gets easier. Well, I mean, first of all, if you're mining, you don't worry about it because like if you lose a little bit, if you get in a bad trade, you've still got an income coming in. You know what I'm saying? Like you're not dependent. This trade doesn't make or break you. If you get a good trade, that's icing on the cake. But if you get a bad trade, you got a bad trade. It sets you back a couple of weeks mining or a month or something. It's not as nerve wracking. I can say, if you're actually earning and generating crypto. If you're dependent on it, if you're like solely dependent on it, yeah. Like if that's how you make your income, is just day trading or whatever, yeah. Because you're gonna have days where you're just like, oh my gosh, like why did I even decide to do this? And you're gonna kick yourself and things like that. But I mean, give it a shot. Like there's no real wrong or right way for these things. There's just only good, better, and best, right? And you want to always try to be within those three ranges. You don't want to try to be perfect. I think that's where people really get hung up is, like they'll completely cash out and then there'll be like 3 more days and it goes up another 13%. And I'm like, ah, dang, I missed 13%. But yeah, you took profit and you're going to take even more profit on the way back down. So, don't sweat it. Don't sweat it. But yeah, guys, um, next month is going to be better than this month. This was a tough month just because we had the shortage in days. And that's another reason why I picked February as the month to do the cleanup. Not only was the weather beautiful and it was great to do a cleanup and not like get exhausted but it's a short month anyway. So it's already going to be kind of a crummy month. So you might as well just go in there, utilize that, get everything cleaned up, get it all solid before the halvening, and be prepared for that difficulty drop, because that's when things are going to get really nice for us again. And if we can get the price action down, I know everybody's like, go Bitcoin, go, but I'm like, no, I want the price low. And let me tell you why I want the price low. Because anything below $45,000 in this range, this red area right here, and I'll go ahead and change this over here so you guys can see it on YouTube. Anything below this red zone right here, this is not profitable for about 80% of the miners running. And if 80% of the miners operational unplug, that's going to be a huge difficulty drop. And even though with the halvening, the reward per block will be half, but I mean, we will be doing, 80% more solves than we're currently doing, which is a substantial amount more. We'd probably be making more after the halvening than what we were making leading up to the halvening, if that were to happen. And so while I know a lot of people are like, go up higher and higher and higher, that's great. I'm thinking in my heart of hearts, go below 40, stay at 30, because that's going to really, really behoove us and really benefit us. And it also benefit me in other ways too. If the price of electricity is one of the main determining factors of profitability, that's going to drive a lot of people looking for very, very cheap power. And guess what I have access to? So it's kind of a win-win situation for me. But truth be told, guys, if Bitcoin still goes crazy and it starts breaking all-time highs and it goes up to 90, maybe even 100K before the halvening, that's good news too. The whole key to this is not to be just set on one plan. You need to have a contingency. You need to have a plan for both ways. So if it goes up higher and higher and higher, I've got a plan. If it goes lower, lower, and lower, I've got another plan. And as long as you keep, attacking it from both angles, it's really difficult to lose, right? Because you're prepared either way. The worst thing that can happen in the market is that it goes sideways, right? So like when we had this sideways movement from August, all the way to like the middle of October, I was just like going nuts. I was like, well, actually it went longer than that. Geez, yeah. I'm going to call it like the summer of sideways. Basically from March, April, March, yeah. End of March, all the way into, what is it saying here? November. Like end of October. So end of March to the end of October, sideways summer. Bitcoin wasn't going up and down. You were seeing all the memes with the little guy with the little stick and he's poking, Bitcoin, telling it to do something. Sideways action is the worst action for me. If it's going down, great, I've got a plan. If it's going up, great, I've got a plan. If it's going sideways, I'm bored to death. I get homicidal. That's the hardest thing to take, guys, is if it goes sideways. And, the funny thing is, I remember, early on talking to people about Bitcoin and like I was talking to my barber, and this was back when Bitcoin was like $4,000 a Bitcoin. And he was like, yeah, I've heard about Bitcoin. I really want to get some. I was like, man, I'll show you how to go to an exchange. I'll show you how to buy it, all that stuff. And, I come back like the next couple weeks later to get my hair cut again. And he's like, yeah, I looked in that Bitcoin. It's too volatile, man. I don't want to get my money into that. And I was like, dude, it's the volatility. That's how you make your money. Like, who wants to buy a stock or any kind of asset that is completely stable? Like 5 years after you bought it, it's worth exactly what you paid for. I mean, what's the point in that? That makes absolutely no sense to me. You want to buy something that's volatile. I can't wait to go back to the U.S. When I go back to the U.S., I'll give him a visit and let him trim my beard. And I'll be like, what's Bitcoin at now, man? Remember when you were going to buy a few? What are you thinking now? um, we're definitely in a bullish cycle. I can't say for certainty if we're in the bull run. I definitely think a correction is due. If we look at the RSI down here, I don't know if you guys know much about RSI. I'll try to make this a big paid, or yeah. Okay, RSI stands for Relative Strength Index, and it basically shows, if an asset is overbought or oversold. And right now, we're at the top of the peak. You can see it only goes so high before it starts to correct down, and we're right in that area where it peaks out and it needs to go down and kind of do a rest. And I think the market, the top end, I always get them mixed up. So the top end is overbought and the bottom end is oversold. And basically what you want to do to be a good trader is you want to sell when everything's in this area, when it's overbought, and you want to buy when everything's down here and it's oversold. And it can be a waiting game. I can do it now at this point. I can look at the RSI and I can look at just the market momentum and what it's doing, and I can get a pretty good idea of where it is. But these kinds of extremes, if you can read them, if you can kind of get a sense for them, a feeling for them, they're game changers. I mean, you can literally double your holdings, all the way up until the all-time high when you liquidate out. Or you can double it, you can triple it even. But yeah, you've got to learn how to read Relative Strength Index and get a feeling for it. Interestingly enough, guys, and here's something that I've seen happen over and over and over again, is the price high always comes at the second bump. So I'll kind of zoom out here. Hopefully you guys can see this well. But you see where it peaked out here, right? We had this top here. That wasn't the highest price action. The highest price action, the top to sell, was at this second notch here. So whenever we get a peak here and we get a correction, that's the sign that I'm looking for. And then I'm looking for the next all-time high, and then I get out. And the same thing happens at the bottom too, guys. So we'll have the bottom, but the lowest price was actually like right up in here. And so that's when you buy back in. So it gives you this pretty clear indication when the tides have turned, right? So it lets you know, okay, the market's now in a correction cycle. But your highest price to sell actually comes after it shows you the indication. And the same with it going back up. So your lowest price to buy back in actually shows after the indicator turns around. Pretty neat stuff if you guys ever get a chance to look into that. Well, yes. So to answer your question, do they now have the power to manipulate price action and large fluctuations? Yeah, we're definitely going to see the influence of Wall Street in Bitcoin, making things move non-organically and non-traditionally. And that's kind of what I blame, this price action that we're seeing going on right now. I was not expecting in my heart of hearts to see the level price or being so close to testing the all-time high. And here's the good news about that is that, the people that laughed at me when I said, stock to flow says it's going to go to 400K. I personally think it's going to go 600 plus, maybe 7 or even 8. And people laughed at me. It's because they don't understand the power of influence that Wall Street is going to have in this bull cycle. And you've got to understand that everything that's been happening up to this point, I mean, there's been some institutions that have dabbled in Bitcoin, but really crazy, like $1 trillion institutional funds haven't been able to touch it. They haven't had a way to access it legally because they're so regulated and things like that. They just can't touch assets that are, considered so risky or so not well understood. But these, ETFs, like, oh, we do that in gold, like, so now this is a toy that they can, play with, that they can use. And it's absolutely going to do artificial things to the market, artificial things in a good way until the peak. And so, always what we have in a bull run is you'll see all this news. Bitcoin's so great. Bitcoin's so wonderful. Grandma wants to talk about Bitcoin. Dogs want to talk about Bitcoin. Your neighbors want to talk about Bitcoin. And you'll see all these crazy people come on and they'll say, I'm Satoshi Nakamoto. You'll see this whole circus of things unfold, right? But what eventually happens is we have what I call an FTX moment, right? So we had a Mt. Gox moment that created a huge correction. We had an FTX moment, and then we had the what was it? We had the SEC come in and like regulate or something that like ICOs. Like ICOs were the big thing, and not in the last bull run, but the previous one. So we have this huge scandal that will break out and get exposed in the news. And when you see that, guys, that's your indicator. Just cash out. Cash out into a stable coin and watch it. Laugh as it drops. Watch it plummet. Because something like that's going to happen with Wall Street. Wall Street's going to pump it up, and Wall Street's going to pump it up to something that it's organically never been able to achieve previously. And then that news will come. Then some scandal will break. Somebody, made promises that they didn't really know what they were talking about. And when that happens, get out. Get out and watch your earnings get higher and higher, because when you buy back in, you're going to be buying back in at, a 90% gain or more even, or more. So I see it as a good thing. Like I said, I'm always prepared for it to go up. I'm always prepared for it to go down. What I can never prepare for, and what I hate and what is misery for me, is if the market just goes sideways and sideways and sideways forever and ever and ever. But that's part of, it's part of it as well. You got to get used to all the different parts of it. Hopefully that answers your questions. Crypto Antiquity. Does anybody else have any questions? Crypto Antiquity's like doing a lot of talking today. Yeah, so I don't know what to say about this cycle, guys, specifically, other than I think it's going to be the mother of all bull runs. I've talked with Sakib about this many, many late nights. We've spent up talking about this, and we believe this one is going to be the mother of all bull runs. And we think longer term, after this bull run, things are going to be more mellow. They're going to be, growth is going to be more steady and predictable, and the volatility is not going to be so just extreme. But this is going to be the last chance, to take. Let's say you get 5 Bitcoins and you sell them at the top, and you want to turn those 5 Bitcoins into 25 Bitcoins when you buy back down. This will be your last chance to do that, to be able to sell 5 Bitcoins at the top, and then when you buy back in, you're buying back at 25 Bitcoins. All right, so without any further ado, if nobody has any other questions, I'd like to kind of talk a little bit about what I've got planned upcoming for March. Now, there were some horrible storms that happened in February, and one of the funny things, or I don't want to say funny things, but one of the crazy things about the United Arab Emirates is because they have such little rainfall here, basically nothing is designed to handle rainfall. So streets flood over, Um, villas start leaking. I know Saqib, like all of his power was shut down because his villa leaked so bad. Like water was coming out of the wall sockets and just unbelievable things that, if you live in North America where I'm from, like you can't even imagine, and even a simple rainstorm. I'm not even talking like a heavy thunderstorm. I'm talking about just a constant, that kind of drizzle. It pretty much shuts down everything in the country over here. We had a little bit worse than that, actually. We had some serious, like some severe thunderstorms come through. Fortunately for Dubai, most of them missed it, but all the areas around Dubai, Abu Dhabi, and then the northern Emirates, they got hit really hard, and some places got hit with like baseball size hail and like broke all the car windshields. There are pictures of Lamborghinis, with them all busted up and dented up and things like that. And those places that got hit really hard, as you can imagine, their electrical grid, infrastructure, all those things got knocked out really bad because it's just nothing here is built to handle that kind of stuff. It's such an infrequent event. Nothing's built to handle it, and so it's caused a bit of a delay in my build outs because the electrical company is now like overwhelmed repairing all this damage, all the damage to the infrastructure and their lines and things like that. And so I'm trying to get power upgrade requests into the power company, but the power company's like, you know what? We're not even going to look at any requests until we, fix all the things that need fixing around here. So if you guys are getting a little frustrated with Roop, please be patient with him. Don't get frustrated with his project at all. I'm doing everything, in my powers to keep things on track and to keep things moving along as fast as possible for his project. But there just really are some things, acts of God, nature, that are just out of our control. And we've all just got to take a breath and let it happen. So at this point, all I can say is there's going to be a delay. I'm not going to be able to know more specific timetables until the power company says, okay, we're ready to accept, upgrade requests again. And, really the ball's in their court, as to soon as they can accept that. So guys, please be supportive of Roop, and just know that I'm doing everything I can behind the scenes to make everything happen. Everything for his project is in place. All the miners are in place. The shelving's in place. The custom PDUs that I had custom made for his project, all are in place. And basically all we are waiting on at this point is just for the power upgrade request to be approved and then to be scheduled in to be installed. And I picked a plot of land for his project that already has a transformer on site. So really all they have to do the installation is just the run of wire from the transformer to the power room. So it's not like they're going to have to build a new transformer pad and all that kind of crazy stuff. So I'm hoping that will make things happen a bit faster. Okay, Crypto Antiquities typing again. Okay, Crypto Antiquity says, got it. Oh yes, very supportive of Cobra X and grateful that we have this opportunity. Looking forward to what comes next and glad for this update. Fun, safe, and farm is coming. Indeed. Everything is safe. Everything is organized and ready to go. It's like I said, it's just, it is what it is. We don't ever expect or prepare for storms, especially storms of that caliber, to come through this area. And unfortunately, it just, that's the weird thing is it skipped over Dubai. So even though Saqib had a bunch of leaking things, Dubai really didn't have, many problems comparatively to all the areas around Dubai. And as you guys know, these agricultural plots, they're in these rural areas outside of the Emirate of Dubai, specifically in the Emirate of Abu Dhabi, and they just got hit really bad, really hard. I think I actually shared some pictures with Roop of some of the substations that had gotten flooded. And I mean, it just looked, first of all, I wouldn't want to be around all that power with that much standing water. Like that would scare the crap out of me. But yeah, they're doing everything they can to get it sorted out. And as soon as we get the green light, I will let you guys know, and we'll do everything in our power um, to make it happen as fast as possible. But there's really not many roadblocks left. I mean, all that needs to be done left is to build the physical structure. And I want to wait until we have the approval first, because then I've got the plot drawings of where exactly the power building is going to go. So the way these things work is you've got a plot, and then you've got to show on the plot, where the electrical runs are, where the power wires are outside of the plot. And then you've got to show where the power room is going to be built. And you always want that power room to be built as close as possible to the transformer. And so once I have that approved with the load upgrade request with the power company, then I know for certain I can build the actual mining structure, close to that. But I don't want to build that and then have, the power room moved over to someplace else, and then I have to redraw where all the cabling and everything goes. So once I get that drawing approved for where that power room is, then I will confidently build out the mining structure. And when I build that out, that's when I'll do lots of videos for you guys and say, hey, we're here, and this is where we start out, and this is how you dig a foundation, and do all these cool things. I really apologize, guys, about not making as many of the cleanup videos as I wanted to. I did a whole day where I was recording the videos, but somehow when I went through my phone, like they were just all jacked up. I don't know what it was, like if my record button on and off wasn't working, but like it was recording when I didn't want to record, and it wasn't recording when I wanted it to record. And so I just had a bunch of really crappy content. I didn't really have anything I could put together for it. And I don't know what the deal was, because I've never had that issue with my phone before. Like usually I'm pretty good, like, hey, doing the posts and things. But honestly, you didn't really miss out on very much. Basically, you take out the front fan, the back fan, you blow the crap out of it. You get a little detail brush. I don't know if you guys have ever used a detail brush on a car, but I've got a little bunch of car detail brushes. You get in there while you're blowing air on it, and you kind of brush it out even some more. Look for anything obvious, any kind of loose screws, loose connections, or anything like that. Check it all out, and then you just screw on the front fans and the back fans, and you're good to go. It's a pretty straightforward process. But I bought this really cool air compressor and all this other stuff, and like I took shots of it. Like you blast out, you can see all the sand like blow out. I thought I had some really cool shots, but something was just going whack on my phone. And obviously I'm always running around like a chicken with my head cut off now, because I don't have Ski working with me anymore. So I've got to just get in, get everything done, and then get out. And so if my phone wasn't working, I don't have time to like, oh, I've got to go back and let me redo this and remake it. I wish I did. That's why I'm saying, like, I need like a crew. Need to hire like a social media crew to follow me around, and then they can document it, and then I can just do the work, and then they can put together the media and the content. And I'm doing my best, guys, to try to find somebody that I can strategically align with. As I was explaining at the very beginning of this AMA, like we're in that phase now where people are going to turn on miners, and they're going to use up the power company's power for the sole purpose of they don't intend to pay. They're going to stiff the power company, and they're going to walk away with whatever their crypto that they've earned. And unfortunately, there's just a lot of people in the industry that are like that. And so I can't turn over such a big enterprise and something that I've put my heart and soul into for years and years and years to somebody that I am not sure that I can trust them. I'm not sure that I can believe them. I'm not sure, are they going to come in? Are they going to try to take advantage of the situation? So it's not as easy as you guys might think for me to find someone else. Now, obviously I could hire somebody, but it kind of puts me in the same boat. Like, what do they know about crypto? Can I trust them? Are they going to try to take advantage of the situation? It's not the kind of business like a normal business operates, right? Like the way a normal business operates is, usually the workers just kind of do like normal work, and they're not exposed to, these miners. They're worth, three, four, $5,000. If you get like the latest generation hydro stuff, some of those things are worth 6, 7 grand, and they can fit in a car. They can fit in the back seat of a car, and you put 2 or 3 of those in the back seat. That's life-changing money to some people. For some people, that $15,000-$20,000, that's more money than they've ever seen in their life. And they know they can just drive up to this farm, flip a couple switches, power it off, unplug it, throw it in the back seat of the car, and they'd be gone, and I'll never see them again. And I've got to be, cautious of that. I can't just let any everyday Joe. I mean, none of you guys have ever worked a job, unless you're, in the accounting or finance department or something like that. But you didn't start there on day one. You didn't start there on day one, exposed to tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of equipment and things like that. And, maybe in construction, you would be exposed to like maybe a crane or, like a dump truck or, dozer or something like that. But those things are hard to take off. Those things are hard to disappear, and they're hard to even sell, right? Because you're going to sell it, and people are going to be like, I need to look at a VIN, or I need to look at the mechanical paperwork and stuff like that. But that's the problem with our industry is, we've got these very, very valuable machines, and they could be disappeared if I let the wrong person into the organization. And so please bear with me, guys. I'm doing my best. I'm, talking to all my old contacts in the industry and trying to find a situation where I'm not running the entire show all by myself. Trying to find another person I can align with. I love what I'm doing. It's just there's only one of me now. And there's only so much I can do in one day. And I appreciate you guys, being patient with me, being patient with Roop. Things like this happen. Life happens. Give us some time. We will make it right. Everything will be right in the end. But it's just the unfortunate, what is it? Was a series of unfortunate events. It's like a Netflix TV series or something like that. It's just a series of unfortunate events. But that's life. I will guarantee this. If it were to happen to anyone else, a lesser person with lesser experience, you guys would be screwed. This would be the kind of situation, and I hate to say it, but other people, they panic. They don't know what to do. They don't have the answers. And then that's when they bail. That's when they skip town. That's when they take everybody's money. And that's when, it's called a rug or whatever. Nobody's getting rugged here. Everything's on track. Everything's under control. The only roadblock that we have is just getting the power upgrade request approved. And that's just an issue with AADC saying, hey, you're low on the totem pole now because we've got all this other stuff that we've got to take care of. And as soon as it gets resolved, I don't see any issues or any problems moving forward beyond that. All right, see here. Yeah, I don't really have anything. I mean, that's if you guys want drama, there's just not a lot of drama in what I do. If it's done right and if it's done the correct way, there really aren't many surprises, and there really aren't, many issues to report. We had some front fans go out on the M50s. We've had a couple. We've had like 4 or 5 of them already fail. Don't know what's really going on there, why they're failing. But I took the liberty of just ordering 60 brand new fans. I'm like, if this is going to be a thing, we're going to do it. We had 2 fans fail on the S19K Pros, but everything's happening within parameters. I mean, what can I say? Yeah, the storms threw a loop, specifically for the areas surrounding Dubai Emirates, but what can you do? To be honest with you guys, typically the most wet month is, I'm going to say, mid-December to mid-January. And usually February, the entire month of February, is like beautiful, like the most crystal clear skies, most perfect, 72, 75-degree weather during the day, no humidity. I mean, for the past 2 years that I've lived here previously, February has just been gorgeous. And this has been like the most gloomy, rainy, like just not normal February that I've ever seen. And what was really weird is the December, January leading up. Um, didn't I mean we had kind of like the normal cool down, and we had the morning fogs and the humidity and things like that. We really didn't see the rain, the thunderstorms, like we did in years previous, and it seemed to all come together in February. And interestingly enough, next week it's supposed to rain a lot again. Um, but it's not going to be as bad as it was a few weeks ago. So yeah, I talk to Sakib almost every day. Give you guys an update on Sakib. Sakib is doing great. Um, this is maybe I shouldn't say because it's a little bit personal, but just over the last couple of years, I noticed talking with Sakib, like how can you say it? Like his enthusiasm, like his energy, like the pep in his voice, like it faded out. And I was just talking with him yesterday, and he sounded just so energetic and so, I don't know how to put it, like so alive. And it just kind of made me feel bad, like, that he's worked so hard, and it's like been so hard for him, with having to pick between work and his family and things like that, and like it's been draining him, it's been killing him. But he sounded so great yesterday, and I was so glad to talk to him, and I was so glad to kind of just hear that energy and that pep in his voice again, because it's been years since I've heard him talk like that. And so yeah, I'm so glad he's doing well, his family's doing well. Amira, his daughter, was a little bit sick, but she's recovering. And yeah, I'm just so happy for him. I'm happy that he's getting his joy. Having your joy in life is so important, guys. It really is. And I could definitely hear, like, he has joy in his life again, and I'm so happy he's doing well. I think, you know obviously it's tough on us, it's tough on me, it's tough on you guys that he's leaving, but I think ultimately it was the right decision. I really think it was the right thing to do for him. You know what? That even reminds me. I even told him, I was like, dude, come to the AMA. Like, just because we're not doing business day in and day out, like, we can still hang out and shoot the shit and stuff. And he was like, yeah, I was like, because everybody's been asking about you on the AMA. So as much as you guys are asking about him, I'm telling him, like, come in and check in, check in with you guys. But yeah, I mean, Sakib is doing great. His family's doing great, and what really means a lot to me is that I can sense that he has that joy in life again. Um, and you only get this one life, guys, and you know, it's definitely too short to be living, not living it just your best of your best, and clearly the involvement that crypto, I mean, because crypto's 24/7, it really is. And I mean, I almost kind of call it similar to an addiction. I mean, it's a way of life for me. It's something that I can't stop. If I wanted to stop it, I can't stop it. But it's not like that for everybody. For some people, it's terrible because it's robbing them of their precious time with their family, and their relationship with their wife, and their relationship with their daughter, and their relationship with their mother, and being able to take care of their parents, and do those kinds of things that have a lot of meaning to them. And yeah, it's Crypto's a way of life, and it's very, very taxing, and it's not for everybody. You know, Rope's about to find out. wait, wait until all of his operations get up and running, and somebody notices a miner goes offline, and it's like been offline for 2 minutes, and they're like, "It's been offline. What are you gonna do? What's wrong with it?" And Rope's like, "Dude, it's just 2 minutes. Like, let me give it a reboot." I'm doing everything I can, guys, and just know that will keep you apprised of the situation. I will give regular updates. I've been giving regular updates to Roop all this time. Hopefully, you guys got to see the custom PDUs that I designed. I sent a picture to him. When they come in, and they've already been shipped out, we're expecting them to arrive sometime next week. When they come in, I really want to do a video. I'm going to go back and try to get the video, but I really want to do a video showing you guys the difference between this custom design and why they make so much more sense and why they're so cool compared to what we've been doing in our existing operations. And I'm really hoping to make this our standard to use from here on out. So hope everybody's doing really great. I've had a really good, productive week, apart from not being able to get the load upgrade approval, but there's only so much I can do about that. I've got to let them handle, their infrastructure and their substations and things like that. If you guys have any good vibes or any good mojo, more rain is coming this week. So if you can kind of just put the good vibes that it doesn't affect anything else or cause any more trouble, I greatly appreciate that. I'm going to try to manifest it myself, that it's not going to create a roadblock, and everything's going to be smooth sailing from here on out. But I hope you guys have a wonderful Friday and a great weekend. And I'm going to do my best. Believe me when I say, I'm looking for, my next partner, my next sidekick that's going to be able to live the life with me. And hopefully that'll happen soon. But got a lot of other things to take care of. So hopefully it'll happen sooner than later, and kind of make it so I can divide myself up, multiply myself. All right, guys, I'm going to sign off here. And I guess I'll see you next month. We'll do one more month from here. But hope you guys have a great week. Had a great week and a great weekend. And I'll see you guys next time.